Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel and got a crazy recap for you guys. Ready to Love DC season 4 or 5 depending on how you look at it. Reunion part 1 recap. Man, that whole thing was so crazy, and even some people considered it ghetto, like Tisia had said. But before we unpack all of this drama, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications. If you like the video, smash the like button and drop a comment down in the comment section below. So, without further ado, let's talk about this. So, we had a different look this reunion time because, of course, we didn't have Tommy on set due to COVID-19. He obviously had tested positive. He said he was doing fine. So he had this young lady step in for him to do the hosting of the show. Let me know how you think she did, because I don't know. It looked like she was up and down with her commentary. Some folks look like she was trying to really get something out of them, and other folks she kind of side with. But let me know your thoughts on that. Let's continue. So, look like the only couple who is undoubtedly still together is Phil and Sydney, y'all. You know what? I actually did not have them in my top 3 last week. I actually had Dante and Aisha as my number 1 couple, but not to still say that they're not still together. We'll probably see more of that in the reunion part 2. But as for Phil and Sydney, they are still together. They're still cute. They're being flirty. And even though they made it clear that there was no engagement yet, they are definitely exclusively dating. And they're dating with intention, which is always what I talk about on this channel. So, what do you think? Do you think that we might have our first one couple to walk down the aisle with these two? I don't know. I want to see how their relationship progress. They really I haven't seen too much of them together on social media, on IG. However, maybe they needed to keep it up under wraps until both of the reunion episodes were over, and then we might see a little bit more of these two together. So let me know what you guys think, but I'm excited about these two. I'm looking forward to seeing where they could go. She's a Sag. He is a Aries from what fans have told me. So they kind of got that DeVale Ellis and Kadeen element, because she is a Sag and DeVale Ellis is an Aries. So who knows? That's a fiery match. Both of those are fiery signs. So we'll definitely have to see, but I'm definitely rooting for these two. I'm hoping that there are big things in the works. Hopefully we don't get, disappointed like we did from previous seasons, Liz, Jason, but let's move on. Let's just wish the best for both Phil and Sydney. Let me know what your thoughts about this couple. Do you think they're going to work out? Let's continue. So let's switch off to now Sabrina and Sean, and by no means did they end up together, but his feelings about the process was noted, especially him feeling kind of pressure to find something, or whether someone who wasn't there. They recapped him being attracted to a few ladies like Sabrina, but with them having no desire for more children, so came him being unable to continue and being glad he was eliminated. For what alternative? I guess sticking around for more weeks just to hope he eventually finds someone. So yeah, he was ready to go. And I don't know, it just did not, work well. And especially because I remember watching LBB 91, Little Black Book 91, and I remember him having an episode about how kind of Sabrina kind of framed the whole thing before he even got there to meet with her family. She pretty much gave him a heads up of the thoughts about what she felt, and then by the time he got there, he walked into this firing squad, per se, in so many words. Now, granted, she did apologize because it was rough. She apologized right after that was over. And we do also see in this reunion episode that she did apologize once again, because that's tough. She kind of gave her side of the story to the family, and the family tends to always take sides with you because they trust you. They don't know them. So, of course, he walks into this and they already feeling some kind of way about him. So it didn't sit well. They did not work out. She did apologize, not once, but twice. But he was definitely relieved to be out of the situation, because I know that's one of the things that the host asked him about. But let me know what your thoughts are about these two. I inevitably it didn't work. But the fact of the matter that she brought some closure to the situation and apologized, I think that was a great thing on her part. So let's continue. Now, this now leads us into this whole thing with Tyrone and Carrie and how he was eliminated. Now, we saw Tyrone's elimination as, folks were saying it was shocking, it was hurtful since he was starting to grow on certain ladies, but made his choice too soon. And we'll talk about that later. Something that I guess Carrie experienced, and she definitely was taken back, since one of the reasons she wasn't chosen is because she was considered aggressive. Now, that word, aggressive, was touched upon, especially how it related to black women, and alongside the apology from Tyrone comes in the acknowledgement on how his delivery could be better. But it was just interesting that that wasn't the last time we heard the word aggressive in this episode, because it came up again amongst the women. So he wasn't able to use that word, and it was not a good thing to use, but the women are using it amongst themselves. So I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. I saw mixed comments about that whole theory that, yeah, we should be able to call each other out, but a man can't. Whereas some women or other fans was like, no, if he can't say it, you can't either. So let me know what you thought about that. But I'm glad that they kind of hashed that out as well. So we got another form of closure with both Tyrone and Carrie as well. Let's continue. So this is when stuff started to get real interesting. And we speaking of Frank and Mew Mean. And Frank kind of put himself in the category of, you made it to the end and only end up wasting somebody's time. Now, for it seemed as soon as the camera stopped rolling, he was pretty much done with Mew Mean. I mean, now, in case you're wondering, this doesn't mean he regrets his choice or that he went crawling back to Sydney afterwards either. But pretty much he didn't like how things were progressing based on the timeline he wanted. So he used this whole theory of acting like he was feeling pressured and not owning that, as many of the women thought on the show that he was just not ready to love. Now, if from the way it looks, he may have been ready to date, flirt, maybe even hook up, but love someone and be on the path to marriage, Frank probably looked at his life, seen his checklist, and thought marriage is next rather than it being something that he's ready for. So, I just hate that for these two. They weren't at the top of my list. Again, it was Aisha and Dante, and then Phil and Sydney. But yeah, because I think she was second choice. I think he really wanted Sydney, and Sydney took herself out of the market to sign up with Phil. And I just hate to say it like that, but it played out. I always try to look at the outcome. What was the outcome? Yeah, they ended up being together. But the outcome was falling flat, nothing. Because obviously he got to the end of the show, the cameras went away, and he was like, I'm out. And in the meantime, she was definitely very interested in him. So, it's just so unfortunate. A lot of the fans looked as if, he played her. We'll probably see Mew Mean maybe do some lives on IG after everything is over, because that normally happens every season. They get on live and they start spilling everything of what we did not see. So she probably got a whole story to tell. And knowing him, he's going to tell his side. There's always one side, the other side, and then there's the truth. So we'll definitely stay tuned for that, and I'll definitely keep you guys posted. But it doesn't stop there. As I said, it was getting interesting. Now it gets heated. Let's continue. The fire alarms definitely went off when it started with Kamil. She ended up the center of most, if not all, of the drama, with Zadia co-signing and adding her 2 cents in. Now, to much surprise, we saw Naeem kind of join in too. And it gets to the point where Sydney had to ask, why aren't any of the men checking Naeem for disrespecting the women? That was her theory, whether they are dating them or not. Now, what was the core issue of all of this? Well, the first major one was the issue that they were having with the Brown Girls Club and how exclusory it felt for some, like Sabrina. Now, someone who tried to hold it in released a comment here and there, but after a certain point, it was caught on and decided it was time to put the spotlight on Sabrina. And Tanika definitely caught that, which is the host. This led to her, saying and kind of getting out of character, lest, we forget it, the process itself is hard enough. But yeah, she went there. But just as the Brown Girl Squad kind of died down and everything, then everybody's talking about Cornelius and expressing worries about his choices and even questioning if he actively made one or not. We also saw that whole country bumpkin comment scene where both the men and women are just looking at that scene and then at him and then at Kamil. And everybody looked like they was confused, yet both of them seemed to be very committed to denying anything was wrong. In fact, we saw Kamil doubling down as she pressed, as she was pressed to be accountable for what she said to Aisha. They even replayed the whole scene of Kamil noting that she would have effed them up more than once, since Kamil saying that it never happened, that it was denied, it was a voiceover. And Naeem even acts like he wasn't even in the room when it happened. And all of this leads, of course, where we saw Tisia thinking the whole darn thing is just too doggone ghetto. And you know what? Honestly, I agree. I mean, one of the things that Tisia said is that pretty much almost everybody in that room is over 40. I know for a fact that I think Sabrina is 46 years old. And I think, now Walter didn't have much to say. And a lot of people was sitting there like, why am I even in this scene? Because there was him sitting on the end. And I think Walter is almost 50. So we got people that are middle aged. And it got crazy. We had cognitive dissonance. We had gaslighting. We had it all. We had aggressiveness used only in certain terms. He couldn't use it, but she can use that word. I mean, it was absolutely crazy. It was crazy, and unfortunately, Tisia is a Taurus, and like myself, I just don't have time for the drama. I look for the love and the objectivity. That's just me. The drama is interesting to talk about, but at the end of the day, there's no outcome to it. Everybody's angry at each other. There's a hashtag floating around because of, the few girls. I think it was Aisha, and we saw Sabrina post something on IG about the fact of what Kamil said, and it's a running hashtag about it. And it's like, okay, but at the end of the day, what does that solve? Okay, she said something. She needs to own that. If, she claimed it was a voiceover, let's talk about that too. Because here's the other thing. Do I believe that when there are jump cuts and scenes where the person is not on camera, but you hear a voice, or their back is turned and there's a voice? It happened in season 12, and it was one of the biggest, season 12 of Married at First Sight. And people was like, oh my God, do we believe everything we seen? And what am I referring to is the scene where Virginia was at her bachelor party and they had the camera at the bathroom door where she was puking. But it was revealed that she wasn't even in the bathroom. She was actually pictured in the background sitting at the bar with the other brides. But all we saw was a picture of a bathroom door and we hear someone puking. That's what I'm thinking Kamil was referring to. She said, but if that's the case, and it was a voiceover, which of course Will Packer and OWN is not going to admit to, then that was one heck of a voiceover, because they matched that directly with her mouth, which made it look like that's what she said. And I think I even heard Aisha at the table repeating the same thing. Said, "Did you hear what she said?" She said, blah, blah, blah. So my thing is, at the end of the day, she ended up with Cornelius, right? Fine. All this started because she actually made her choice early. Now, some people thought she was overly possessive about it, and she didn't want him to make connections with anybody else. And everybody felt that Cornelius was afraid to make connections with anybody else. But at the end of the day, these are grown folks. Cornelius could have made whatever decision he wanted to make. He did not choose to make those other connections. The girl did not have a gun to her head. And I know some people are like, blink twice if you're safe and all that nonsense. That's a grown man. And the thing is, he made a decision to stay with Kamil. Whatever their situation is, it may look chaotic to the world, may not be something I would do or you would do, but at the end of the day, they booed up. Seriously. So I just think that whole thing with what she said, because, I mean, technically, if somebody said, "I'm going to F y'all up," that sounds like a threat, right? The question is, did she actually say it or not? It looks like she did based on the tape. But knowing how reality TV works, that's why it was out there, So let me know what y'all think. Like I said, the reason why I put that doubt out there, because I know what happened in other episodes with other shows. It happens all the time. There are other people that have spoken about this. If you see somebody turned away or their face is not in the scene, but you hear a voice, chances are that didn't happen in their moment, and there was context that they took a soundbite from somewhere else and put it there. Now, I'm just giving y'all the feedback. So take it with a grain of salt. You get to choose how you want to feel. I'm cool, whatever y'all decide. But at the same time, I'm also objective. So let's continue. So overall, what did y'all think about the reunion part 1? I know we saw future clips for next week, part 2, where Tisia and Corey has a conversation. We see Corey breaks down. I really want to see what the status is of Aisha and Dante and how their relationship is going. So hopefully we'll see that in the next episode. It got real crazy. And like I said, one thing I mentioned in a previous episode earlier this season is, at what point when you do decide to double down and couple up with somebody and you focusing on each other, how do you make that last to the end of the season without being eliminated because the other singles haven't connected with the two of you because you chose to stay together? I don't understand that. And I'm not saying that I'm making Kamil and Cornelius the center of attention in this. It did happen with them. But just say it happened with somebody else and they got midway and say, "You know what, you're it." The other person is like, "Okay, you're it. Let's do the darn thing. We're going to pursue this and we're going to couple up." How do you keep yourself from being eliminated because the other people are not making connections with you because you came in here intentional enough to find somebody and that other person was intentional enough to find you? I don't understand how that works. Is there a way for Ready to Love to say, "Okay, you're a solid couple. We still got a remaining part of the season. You're not interested in meeting or, exploring other interactions? Okay, cool." Is there a way to separate that to keep them from being eliminated? Because the thing is, you come on this show saying you're ready to love. Okay, if you're ready to love and you found someone and you didn't wait 10 weeks to do it, you got at week 7 and 8 and say you're it. At what point do you actually be able to get to the end of this show without being eliminated? I never understand this. At least with shows like The Bachelor, Bachelorette, people are coming and going, or some other shows like Love Island. You might not make connection with these group of people, but we bring in new people. Yes, they brought in Sean and Sydney. Okay, but what if you are not interested in them and you've already coupled up with somebody else? I just don't understand how that works, because now this is the situation of what happened with, in this case, Camille and Cornelius. Cornelius was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to focus on Camille. And Camille was like, I'm done. He ended up getting eliminated by the women because they didn't make connections with him, because he wasn't trying to make connections. They say he wasn't ready to love, when technically, I guess, from the way it looks, him and Camille, and even on IG, I follow them, they have been doing some of everything. They have been going some of everywhere. They have been really booed up off camera as well. So obviously they were ready to love on each other. It didn't work for the other girls with him, but they were interested in each other, and it worked. So I don't know, how can you force somebody out of a coupling who don't want to pursue somebody else, and then the other singles get mad and say, you're not ready to love? Help me understand that. I don't know. Make that make sense. So let me know your thoughts on this whole thing. It was crazy. Do I think it was dramatic? Was it as ghetto as Tisia said it was? I mean, the thing is, everybody primarily is over 40. And this is what we have. Now, will I say everybody look absolutely great? Yes. Everybody dresses were beautiful. The guys look good. I did see that grill in Cornelius's mouth at the bottom. So that's his style. I'm not finna judge him. That's on him. But let me know what you guys think. Looking forward to reunion part 2. So until that video or the next video, like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you soon. Bye.